Welcome back to Next Shift with Rick Wagan. Suzuki does not suck. The Montreal Canadiens are coming off a 3-2 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning with Vasilevskiy in nets. Montreal Canadiens fell behind 2-0 in the second period and came roaring back on a power play goal by Juraj Slafkovsky, who found almost no space to the right side of Vasilevskiy on his blocker side. A few seconds later, there was a beautiful shot by Alex Newhook to tie it up at 2-2. And midway through the second period, it was a 2-2 game. And that kind of hung on back and forth, more fourth for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay definitely took the game to the Montreal Canadiens, and Samuel Montembeault, after giving up 2 goals earlier on in the first and early part of the second, came roaring back in the second half of the game and just stopped everything that came at him. There was many high danger chances. This is the 5th game that Samuel Montembeault has won where it's called a stolen game, ultimately, because he made more high danger saves than his opposition goaltender and helped win the game. In the third period, with a little more than 2 minutes left, Jake Evans scores a beautiful goal on a setup by Mario Armia and another assist, I think, by Josh Anderson on the wall. A great goal at an opportune time. The Canadiens were able to hold on with 2 minutes left. David Savard, with less than 15-20 seconds left, found himself in the corner behind the net with the puck between his legs on the ground, kind of holding back 3 or 4 or maybe 5 Tampa Bay Lightning sticks. A few of them probably hit him in places that don't feel good, but he was able to hold the puck in that zone for most of those seconds. Maybe with 1 or 2 seconds left, the puck was released. Ultimately, the Canadiens won. They won 3-2. The Montreal Canadiens are now 24-19-4. They're 13-3-1 in their last 17 games. The Canadiens are on fire, and the Montreal Canadiens head to Detroit on Thursday, tomorrow night, to play the Detroit Red Wings, who are also on a bit of a heater, although they did just lose 3 in a row. A semi-heater, I guess. They were doing pretty well, and then they lost 3 games in a row, and they've kind of fallen a little bit behind in the wild card race. That being said, the Montreal Canadiens are in a wild card spot. They're tied with the Ottawa Senators with the same amount of games. They're only 1 point behind Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay does have a game in hand. And they're 7 points behind the Florida Panthers, and they do have a game in hand on them. Florida plays the LA Kings tonight. They beat the Anaheim Ducks last night. I was actually at that game as well. Florida looks solid, and it might be a tough order for Montreal to get to the second spot in the Atlantic, but the third spot is up for grabs right now, but so is second to last. I mean, the second to last place team is at 45 points with New York Islanders, and the Montreal Canadiens are only 7 points ahead of that, and the Islanders have a game in hand. A lot of games to go, 35 games to go. Kudos to Juraj Slafkovsky for a great goal. RA played great. Laine had 2 assists. Hudson continued his point scoring streak. He continues to score every game. I think that's his 9th game in a row. He got a point. So he's doing great. Let's put it this way. Montreal Canadiens are roaring to the playoffs right now. They're in a spot. It's definitely in the mix, and looking forward to the remaining games. When it comes to the stats, Nick Suzuki is at 47 points in 47 games. He's the only player at 1 point per game. Right behind him is Cole Caulfield at 44 points, and in third place is Laine Hudson at 39. Not far behind that is Juraj Slafkovsky at 26 and Jake Evans at 25. So the Canadiens are doing great from that perspective. I see a strong second half. If they can kind of continue what they did in the last 17 games, obviously they'll make the playoffs. However, I did do some math, and I looked at their record in their last 35 games, which is the amount of games that remain in the season. And I believe they were 19-14 and 2 or something, or 3 in those 35 games. Do the math, 19-13-3. And I think if they do that for the remainder of the season, that would mean they'd get 41 more points. They'd end the season with 93 points. They'd be right in the mix. I mean, there's been seasons where 93 doesn't make the playoffs, and there's seasons when 93 does make the playoffs. Those 35 games include November, most of November, which was before Laine, before Carrier. But they weren't playing great. I think they were 4-6-1 in that month. Again, if they can play like they have in December and January, they're in. If they kind of fall off a little bit and kind of do a mixture, they still have a chance. And obviously, if they fall back into their ways of November and October, they won't make it. So we'll see. I mean, it's fun to watch the Canadiens win games that they don't deserve to win necessarily, but they're doing what it takes to make it happen. Galley is working his butt off. He's going to play his 800th game in Detroit. Dvorak is going to play his 500th game in Detroit. A little bit of note here. I'm watching the New Jersey Devils play the Boston Bruins, and Markstrom got hurt. So Jake Allen had to step in. If it's a serious injury or even if it's a mild injury, I anticipate we'll get Jake Allen on Saturday night. I'm not sure who will start for the Montreal Canadiens. What has been announced is Montembeault will start in Detroit against the Red Wings. And I'm for that, mostly because Detroit is a team that Montembeault had some great success with at the end of December. If you recall, before the Christmas break, they had a back-to-back with Detroit, won one game, I believe 4-3, and the other one 4 or 5-1. So he's done well against Detroit. He played a great game on Tuesday night. He deserves the start. Listen, Dobish is playing great hockey. I don't think it's a good problem to have. Who should play the games? All in all, looking forward to that game. Looking at the minor leagues, just guys, take a look at Demidov. Demidov is playing in the KHL. He got another goal and another assist on Tuesday, I believe, morning, our time, Tuesday night, their time. He's playing again tomorrow. I think he had a goal and 2 assists the game before that, or 2 games before that. His goal was beautiful. Go look at the highlights. His assist was beautiful. He was on a power play, and he did a no-look pass across ice for a one-time goal for the KHL Scott team. So look for him. Our boy Jacob Fowler had his 5th shutout of the year, playing great hockey, and Michael Hage is playing good hockey as well. He's been put up by his Michigan team for the Hobie Baker. So is Jacob Fowler, for that matter, which would be incredible if a goalie won the Hobie Baker. There is a Mike Richter Award, which will be probably fought between him and Augustine, and we'll see who wins that. Again, the Montreal Canadiens are in a good place with their goaltending, with Montembeault and with now Dobish playing some great hockey. They need to keep Evans. I think they need to keep Armia. Wouldn't hurt to keep Savard if he can stick around year by year. The only player I see that they might get rid of is Dvorak, just from a contract perspective and from an age perspective. And they can replace him with Owen Beck or Kapanen. Owen Beck has played the last couple of games. He's been fairly quiet. I don't think he was playing. I know he wasn't playing his position. He's a centerman. He was playing wing. I don't think he felt very comfortable. They did send him back to Laval today. There was a game tonight, I think. So I haven't looked at the stats on tonight's game. But, Owen Beck didn't look great, but he didn't look bad. He wasn't playing offensive hockey. I'm not going to, worry too much about it. But he definitely needs to step up. He or Kapanen needs to step up and find that third centerman role. Although Alex Newhook could play that role as well. And once Demidov joins the team next year, and if the Canadiens want to pick up another guy, but I mean, if you have Laine and Doc is playing some good hockey now, and obviously the first line is the first line, and those 6 guys can kind of rotate in different ways as well. Demidov could go to the first line, Laine could go to the first line, Slafkovsky can come down. If those guys are playing good hockey, Newhook could be a decent third line center with, let's say, Gallagher and Anderson, and then if you can keep Evans with Armia and Heineman, I mean, there's your lineup without even having a Beck or Kapanen or others that could make the team. On defense, I think there's one more right defenseman that the Montreal Canadiens need to kind of replace Matheson at the top line. I think Hudson is going to be cemented with Goulet as like 1-2 on the left side. And Carrier has definitely cemented himself as a right defenseman on at least the second line. So I think the Canadiens are looking for one more veteran right-handed defenseman that can maybe step in instead of a Savard, and maybe let Savard go, or maybe he wants to stick around as a 6th or 7th defenseman for a few years. We'll see. Very excited about the team. I think they're turning the corner. I think the Montreal Canadiens are in the mix. I was predicting in the 80s in terms of points. I think I'd be disappointed right now if they end up in the 80s. I think the Montreal Canadiens are destined to be in the 90s in terms of points. And if they're in the 90s, they're in a mix, and there's a really good chance they make the playoffs. And they're not out of a chance if they can play like they have the last month and a half to fill in the 3rd spot in the Atlantic and not even be a wild card. Second spots, they'd have to play incredible hockey, and the Panthers aren't going to back down. So I think the 3rd spot is probably the highest ceiling they'll get to this year, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So looking forward to the game tomorrow night. I predict the Montreal Canadiens win the game. I think they'll win by a couple of goals. I think the Canadiens are playing well. I think Detroit is a little bit off. I think the Canadiens are going to come out flying. They're going to have a day rest here, heading to Detroit. and then they come back home and play New Jersey, who's on and off, although I believe they're winning tonight against Boston. At least they were before this tape started. All right, that's it for me. That's it for Next Shift. Suzuki does not suck. Talk to you guys soon.